Welcome back to the Unkles Podcast. Today I've got a very exciting guest with me in the building, Clare Akauma. Claire, how are you today?
Hey Richie, I'm great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you, and I'm really excited to get into this chat because I know, we've been friends for a while now, and you've really done quite a few things in the Brisbane space or in the community within Brisbane. So I think, we're really excited to have you on and definitely dive into a few of those things. But before we get started, we always start here at the Uncles with the word of the week, and that's something that probably describes the last week that you had. So what would be your word of the week?
I had to think about this one before coming on, but curious is my word.
Wow.
Curious. Just as we have our chat today, probably you'll see that theme come up a lot. Me being curious about things and leaning into spaces that might not have normally lent into, which open up opportunities and networks. So that's my word for the week.
Yeah, that's a great word. Great word, and I reckon that sort of explains, I guess, the type of person you are. Well, that's the type of person I see you as on like LinkedIn, social media. I'm like, oh wow, Claire's doing this, Claire's doing that, and then so that sums up the word curious, because I guess you're curious to learn new things, find out different things, meet new people, and get out there, which that's just my assumption. I don't know if it's true.
It's 100% right, especially with like my culture in PNG and building relationships and meeting new people. It's something I try and do in my job and at sport and outside of work as well. So just being open to things.
Oh, nice. Let's get into it. Take us back to where it all started for you. Where were you born and raised?
Okay, so I was actually born in Australia, a small regional town in New South Wales called Muswellbrook. It's known for coal mining and agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up there. I've got a brother and sister, not an older brother, Gordon, my younger sister, Isabel. And so my dad's the connection to Papua New Guinea. He's from Central. His mother is from Kairuku, and the father is from Yule Island, so both Central there. But for myself growing up, I grew up a very Australian way, I guess. A lot of your guests and a few people back on the show grew up in Australia. A lot of people grew up in Papua New Guinea, and they're coming to Oz, I guess. But my spin is sort of the opposite. So I guess growing up in the Australian way, Australian lifestyle, and like the school structure and the system here, and trying to learn more about my culture in PNG and finding my family and stuff. So being curious about the whole of me, my heritage and stuff. So I know everything about the Aussie side, but hey, what about my PNG side? So that might help explain a few things as we go on.
Yeah. No, that's very insightful. Like you said, we have a lot of people that come on where they're Papua New Guineans, they were born here, or they were Papua New Guineans, they were born back home and then moved over and, came and did school here, or they're Papua New Guineans that, spent their whole life there and now they're living here as well. So we've got a whole different, I guess we've had a few different guests on with lots of different stories, but I think, take us back to, because you mentioned Muswellbrook, and that would have been home for you from the start. So take us back there. What were some of your childhood memories?
Yeah, I think, so my dad came over as a young boy when it was the year of independence, actually. It was before September. So he's come over with his mother and the husband.
Mm-hmm.
Was an Australian army man. So they got married, I guess, and they come over together, and he and the mum and everyone started their life there back next to Muswellbrook, a little village nearby. And then, Dad grew up and Mum's family moved to town, and that's how they met. And then my siblings and I come along, but I think growing up was quite regional, so we all played sport. Parents wanted us to do well at school, and this is my perspective, but I think a lot of people thought that once you finish school, you have to go into mining or maybe into agriculture, like get an apprenticeship, and that's what you guys do. But for me, I felt a bigger calling and a bigger purpose elsewhere, and I went on to university later on. Mm-hmm. So just a typical regional New South Wales town, agriculture. There's lots of dairy farming. There's like horse racing. There's a lot of viticulture. So Colbin's nearby, like the wineries. So it's sort of a really nice, rich area in the Hunter Valley down there.
Yeah, wow. It's funny you said horse racing because I I do a bit of horse racing, and I know Muswellbrook is it's a hot spot for horse racing. I seen that name pop up, and I'm like, okay, yeah, race Muswellbrook races, yeah. Yeah. So what's the race course actually? Is it called Muswellbrook?
Yeah, Muswellbrook race course. Yeah, it's pretty popular. So the Melbourne Cup Day is the same day as Muswellbrook Cup.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like a public holiday for everyone can go off work there. And I remember in school when we were turning 18 and they were like, oh, let's not go to school and go to the Muswellbrook
races.
Let's go to the races. But no, yeah, everyone got around. It's like everyone knew each other. It's like a country community. So I guess very different feel of coming to the city and having to build your networks and get to know your community up here too. But whenever I go home, like I know everyone, you're down the street, so-and-so's parents, someone's grandparents. I see a lot of friends. Some of my friends stayed and settled there, so they're all getting married and have kids and things now. So when I go home, it's really nice. It's sort of the same, which is sort of still beautiful because I enjoy reminiscing and going to see my grandfather, and we'll go to our favourite food place and have a home-cooked meal with Mum and go to church and stuff. So it's a nice sort of slower life, slower pace than up here in Brizzy. Yeah,
that's the city life can do that to you. I think it's pretty fast paced. And were there many PNG people in Muswellbrook? Any at all, or just you guys?
Yeah. So when I reflect and think about that, there actually weren't any or many Pasifika families around growing up. So
wow.
There was a lot of First Nations families, like Indigenous Australians, and we actually grew up with them, and they're like my brothers and sisters, and their parents grew up with my dad, and so we'll call each other cousins and stuff still. And wherever I've gone now, whether it's uni or up here, like I still feel really connected to Aboriginal community or the Pasifika people, but definitely tiny amount of people of colour in my area. So when I got a little bit older, obviously it sort of spurred that curiosity to go, hey, I actually don't look like everyone else. What are we? Like, what's our heritage? I actually remember asking Dad, hey, am I Aboriginal? Are we Aboriginal? And he's like, no, Papua New Guinea. Like, and he didn't really talk much about it. Obviously coming here, long story, but yeah, I didn't have too much information about where we're from and couldn't know my complete identity because I didn't know the full story. I only knew the story here. So when he said you're from Papua New Guinea, then that sort of ignited something in me, and I've sort of been on that journey since, trying to find out more about PNG, my culture, our family. Yeah, it's actually been a quite beautiful journey.
Yeah, that's. I feel like a lot of people are in the same boat as you. My dad, he went down to Melbourne to a place called Wonthaggi where there was not even Indigenous people there. So it's just full Aussies, white people. And he was the only sort of black person, moved down there when he was 7 years old and then went back to PNG when he was 17. So 10 years. And back then, no phones. So he couldn't call his mum and dad, had to write letters. And that's all. It was just letters that he was sending back and they were sending him letters. So they didn't know, my grandparents didn't know, what their son looked like or what he was, going through. he was just there with a family and then all of his friends that he met during school. So I think a lot of people that are down here should sort of share the same feeling as you. They're going through the same things, and it's a bit of a point where you're trying to understand your cultural identity. You ask the question, why do I look like this, and why don't they look like me? It was like our guest last week. She spoke about her time in America, and she moved over when she was 4 years old. So as soon as she got there, and is going through high school, although she had like an American accent already because she was there when she was 4, she's asking herself too, like, oh, why do I look different to everyone else here? And she said a funny thing. She said everyone thought that because I had an American accent, they thought that I was African American. Yeah. But in the back of my mind, I knew where I was from. It's only when she had her close friends, then she would open up and say, oh, look, I'm actually Papua New Guinean.
Yeah.
And most of them
would ask, where's PNG?
Yeah.
What's that?
Where's PNG? What? You're making up a fake country. So I think, that's one of the beauties of it. And I think that's one of the things that we're finding out about people as we go along this journey on the podcast and speak to more people. We're finding out those things, but it's really interesting. But let's rewind there and go back to, I guess, your high school days, because these are really the years that sort of shape you, which is what we think. Yeah. And that's why we sort of ask people about it. But what was high school like for you?
Yeah. Okay, I went to St. Joseph's High School, Aberdeen. So Aberdeen sort of had all the surrounding towns feed students to come to this private school. So there was the public school in Muswellbrook. Mum and Dad both went to there, and they're going, your kids are not going to that school. Like, we've been there. We're sending you to this one. We want you to have a good education and be whatever you want to be. We want to give you the world, basically. So my brother's a year older than I, so we were sort of going through high school together. And then our younger sister, she's 5 years younger, so she sort of was coming into year 7 and 8 when we were sort of leaving high school. But it was mixed sex high school, and I think when I went to that school, I did find there was more people of colour or from different backgrounds and different family types, and it was really interesting for me to grow and learn. And the word curious again, like, we had to do religion, and I know a lot of people up here that went to boarding school have done the religion classes, or they've had to do compulsory, like, liturgies and different things. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of new for me as well. But I am a Christian, growing up, but this was a Catholic school, so it was almost next level. So I'm not a Catholic myself, but I think because it's quite sporty in the country. If you don't play sport, then people are usually out partying and drinking and whatnot. But for me to stay focused, I did commit a lot of my time to sport, and I did commit my time to studies. I wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted to show something of myself, and I already had that desire to do something and leave home and maybe go to university and make something of myself and really live a meaningful life and make a positive change. So in high school, it's so funny. They ask you when you're 16, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you're like, we're still kids. We have no idea. So when I'm looking at those subjects to pick in year 11 and 12, I'm just trying to pick ones that I would enjoy or maybe see myself working in. So I did all the sciences. It's so funny because I do all the sports, but I really enjoyed all the sciencey stuff, and that's me wanting to learn and know more about things and how things work. It's quite interesting and beautiful, like nature and the environment. And I did agriculture with the animals and obviously growing up around it, so it sort of made sense to go into that space. And then I did the PE and sport and stuff too. I actually did quite well in year 12 with that and the religion. So I absolutely loved school, and I feel like I was quite mature going through high school, so people can joke around and they'll rip teachers off and they could be rude to teachers and things. Yeah. But I'm just sitting there like, I don't understand, because they're just a human being. They're just trying to do their job. And I feel like I've always been like that, but now I've seen my friends mature and now they're at that level that I was there. So
Yeah.
I think I almost took high school quite seriously. But doing the studies at school and outside of school, so traditionally, or back in the day, I used to play netball, so that was my thing. I didn't start sport till I was 13. And you talk about people that are pros, like, I started when I was 5.
Yeah.
I did not have an interest in sport at all when I was younger. I think I would just be at my brother's soccer games, just supporting or playing in the park. But I went and I remember I tried netball once when my cousin was playing and they needed a spare, and I was quite tall then, and they're like, come and play. I had no idea what I'm doing.
Yep.
Pretty unco. And then that grew into something, and I played for Hunter Academy at Newcastle while I was doing high school, so we had to drive to Newcastle before all the highways were done. So Mum and I would have to wake up at 5 a.m. on the weekends and go trek and do that and come back. And I remember doing so many assignments at midnight on Sunday because it was due on the Monday or something, and internet had only just come through too, so we had like the wireless cord and stuff. It's not even too long ago, but like it was like ages ago. We had to go through that.
Oh, jeez.
So I guess like toughen it out, I guess, character building to that. And my brother and I are high achievers, so academic, sport, leadership. I was actually blessed to be school captain.
Wow.
In my final year, and got to lead the school through that, and I don't know, sort of naturally stepped into that, and my peers voted me in, so I just was like over the moon. Just
was that a big moment for you? Were you like very proud to be named as school captain? Yeah,
I was extremely proud because like my friends, like other people have put their name forward too, and sometimes in those situations I feel like it can be a popularity contest, but for me, I was just friends with everyone, and I'd just know everyone, go and have a chat. I'd have a girl group that I'd hang out with, and then when they got a bit too much, I'd go and hang out with the boys because I'd always play sport. So I don't know, for my peers to vote me into that I was just so honoured, and I actually got emotional about it, and I called my mum, and it was really nice moment for me to have, and it sort of opened up more doors for me, and like you having to public speak, or you're a role model leading by example. In the leadership roles, I guess you have the power of influence, and people are watching you as a role model. So everything you do, even if you don't think it matters, people are watching how you present, sorry, my hair's messy today, but how you look, how you're presented, how you speak, what you're wearing, your attitude towards things. So I think maybe in high school and growing up, that was instilled as well. Family values and our grandparents and on mum's side were really involved in raising us as well. So I nearly call Nan and Pop as like our second pair of parents. So teaching us those important values and family values and being a good, honest person sort of shone through in those younger years, and it's sort of, I guess, been the foundation of me going out into the world and doing my thing.
Yeah, and that leads us to the next question, and that's a great, I guess, launch pad you set for yourself, being school captain, and then that already sets the bar pretty high. What was life like afterwards? Like, did you have your eyes set on university? Was it uni in New South Wales, Queensland? What happened next?
I think being a leader and being able to, I don't know, I always want to do the right thing and look after the community. So I actually probably helped, well, our team did do some good changes throughout the year and look after, we do a lot of community projects. So I got a few scholarships from that, and some of these scholarships, like my teachers applied for, they didn't tell me, they sent my name in for like leadership things, and I, when we were 16 or so, trying to figure out what we wanted to be, I already looked at the uni pamphlets because those careers days and people come to your school. And for me, I ended up picking the agricultural pathway. So I ended up getting into University of New England, Armidale, UNE. So that's regional, like northern New South Wales. It's near Tamworth. It's It's probably halfway between Muswellbrook and Brisbane. So it's near the border of Queensland. I did a Bachelor of Rural Science with honours, so that's agronomy, and that's a form of ag science. I sort of say agricultural engineer. 4-year degree, super heavy on the sciences, lots of pracs. Like I was at uni every day doing pracs 4 times a week.
Wow.
And then I was doing all the sport too, the netball and stuff, and I was in like the top. I was like, they call them freshers, like a freshman first year, but I was in like the top netball team with like all the seniors and stuff. So I sort of comfortably moved in, but I went to St. Albert's College in Armidale, and you live on campus and like your food and everything's looked after. And I got a few leadership scholarships to that because my teachers, my ag teachers and that put all this stuff forward for me. I didn't even know where I was going to go. I knew I got in, but I didn't know I was staying. And then when I got those scholarships, I'm like, okay, doors just open and just move with it. So went into that space. It was great because most people there were studying ag or were sporty, and a few people that I met, still my mates there.
Yeah.
I was there for a few years, and then I went out to another college. It was called Wright College and Village. So the college lifestyle gets old after a little while.
Yeah.
And I was there for a purpose. I'm there to get my degree and have a plan, and I want to do my family proud. So I didn't want too many distractions. Sport already took enough of my time. So went to Wright Village College, and then started up their netball team, did all the women's sport, started all these leadership positions just started flying at me while I'm studying. So it was pretty full on, but I think that's where I work my best. That's where I thrive my best, when you're doing multiple things and like maybe under a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
University was one of like a big turning point in my journey. It's actually really important, I'd like to mention, because that's where I met my very first Papua New Guinea friends. So I'm not sure if listeners are aware of the Australian Awards and the sort of scholarships where students come down to further their education, or people just come in to do university down here as well. But there was a few coming to our regional uni, and they're in all different fields there. But I remember walking past my bio class every Monday. There was this lady always waiting out the front. She must be waiting for the lecture theatre when we left. And I'd look at her, I'm like, oh, she's definitely from PNG. She's from Papua New Guinea.
You can always tell.
She's from the Highlands. I'm like, this lady.
Sixth sense.
And I was so nervous, and I would just walk past her. I swear it took me about 2 months to get the courage to go, yeah, okay, this Monday I'm going to ask her. And I walked up after class. I'm like, hey, how you going? She's like, oh, good, thanks. And I said, hey, are you from PNG? And she said, yeah, I am. And I said, me too. And my dad's from PNG. And she's like, oh, sister. And then that was that. Like, we hugged, we exchanged numbers, and I remember going to the toilet cubicle nearby, and I was real emotional calling my dad going, hey, I met another PNG person. Like, I'm so excited. It took me so long, like as a young adult, to find that. And then, the memories are so beautiful. But from there, she sort of introduced me to the PNG community at that university. So we didn't have a PNG committee per se, but everyone knew each other, and that was their form of community and home. So her name was Amanda. She introduced me into that space, and then I met 2 other key people of my life that are part of my journey. Jean, Jean's here today. She's just visiting from POM.
Yeah, she's behind the camera.
There's Scully and Wayo as well, and Scully, she's down at Newcastle at the moment. But these 3 ladies sort of nurtured me and would answer all my questions I had about PNG, and I just didn't have anyone like that in my life that I could ask about stuff, and I was just so curious. And they're like, oh, Clare, you know, this and this, we'd eat this at home, come over, we'll cook this. And they introduced me to celebrating Independence Day. Like, I didn't even know about that in September. And it was just a great time. And in 2017, the girls actually took me to Papua New Guinea my first time. I was 21. Amanda was from the Highlands, and Jean is from Central. So I had a week with Amanda and her family in the Highlands, and I got to experience that and see that. And we went to like Goroka, Mount Hagen. Her family took me to Kainantu because my dad, when we asked some questions later, like he said he grew up with the cousins for a little bit in Kainantu because his family We were running a missionary up there, or they were supporting that.
Yeah.
So when he was a little boy, he'd run around up there. And then I had a week down in Central with Jean. And Jean works for New Guinea.
Shout out. We're looking for a sponsor. So
Hey. But after Jean finished her degree, she's gone back to work and she's telling her co-workers about my story and trying to find like my way back home. So my dad we don't have enough time to talk about it, but he's disconnected to his family and they lost contact when he's come to Australia. So all these years he's lost that contact and he's grown up here. So that's probably why he couldn't tell me much, because he just doesn't know himself. And that's sort of another beautiful thing about my journey, because I can reconnect and find things for him, and that makes, we're just trying to make the circle. So Jean's telling this story at work, letting her co-workers know what's happening, and I'm coming up and she's all excited, and they're like, oh, what's her name's Claire? Like, maybe like I'm from Central. And she drops our surname, and then the next day come back, okay, what's her dad's name? Oh, Marty. And she's like, oh my God, that's my uncle.
always.
It was just so her mum and my dad grew up in the village together. Like her parents were the ones running that missionary, and they actually thought, because dad had been gone for so long and they never heard from them once they come here, that he'd passed away. They'd never heard from Martin again. And then, Jean's having this chat at work, which is just so amazing how things happen and timing, and like, it's just wild thinking about it. Goosebumps. Yeah. But, she's working with my cousin, and then so this conversation happened before my visit. So they actually prepared a house meet. They let everyone from the village and the boo-boos and stuff know. And so when I did come down, oh man, it was so emotional. It was like my welcome home.
Yeah, that's so.
And it was for my dad too and my family that I did that for. And that was so special. And like even the Boo Joseph, he used to be like the king chief of our area, and I hear the stories, and he'd be the big headdress. One of his photos is actually in the art gallery, or one of the exhibitions down
the big Karuku headdress.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Picture, pop it up on the other.
Yeah. Definitely send me the photo. We'll put the photo up here now.
He come to meet me and greet me at the airport when like Jean was there too, but my head, because I knew I was meeting my family, I was all nervous and anxious on this flight, and I'm like, these people could be lying, they might not be my family, like all this stuff coming into my head. And when I got off the flight and I like saw him, he looked just like my dad, just older, and I just was so
same
emotional.
face.
I was just like, same face, same nose, big smile. His
always the nose.
His toes, the second toe is longer than the first, and I'm like, hey, that's where I got it from.
I think that's a Karuku thing.
But everything made sense that I never understood growing up, or why I didn't fit in, or why I didn't look a certain way, and even like the foods I'd like to eat. Just when that first visit, being there, everything made sense, and I'm like, okay, I'm home now. Like this feels so right, and I want to know more. Super exciting. So my 3 sisters from uni, like they've just been a part of that journey for me, and I'll always remember them, and they'll always be like my first PNG best friends. Just so connected. So from there, things happening and my PNG connection and just taken off. But
yeah, that's amazing, and thank you for sharing that with us. That you definitely made me a bit emotional there too.
Try not to cry.
No, but thank you for sharing that. I think you touched on it a bit there, meeting your first PNG friends at university, but I think you're a bit modest when you talk about, all these opportunities and, getting scholarships and then playing sport. But, for other uni students out there, maybe give them an insight into, how did you balance all of these things? Because I think it's a very important thing when you're at university. For me, it seemed like, you were out in the big bad world, and you have all these different, things that you can get carried away with. And there's so many distractions, and it's really important to make sure you, like you said early on, you know your purpose and you know the reason as to why you're at university. So how did you balance all of those things?
I think because you're moving out of home as like a young teen, almost a child still sometimes, but you're moving away from your parents, new environment, you have to look after yourself. It's such a big change, and some people can't cope with that change. But for me, it was a sacrifice for me. The first time away from my family, I'm there to do myself proud, to do them proud, but this sacrifice has to be worth something. So I'm losing all this time with my family. I have to move away, have to pay a HEX fee.
Yeah.
Like there's all these sacrifices you're making, time, getting up every morning to go to class and all that stuff. But it's all for the end goal. So just trying to remember your purpose or have a vision in mind. So for myself, when I did choose agriculture, like, because there's so many ways I could have went, because I like so many things and there's sport and stuff. But, you know, agriculture, this is me as a teen thinking, climate change, sustainability. There's a lot of poverty out there, and there's people that are starving at night. But, you know, we have enough resources in the world to feed them. I did think about PNG side, and I know there's a lot of poverty there. It's still a developing country. So for me, that hit hard, and I'm like, I have a bigger purpose. I need to get this done because that's the way I wanted to go, the mainstream there. Obviously, you needed a job and some sort of income as well, and the agriculture link back home too. So I had a few different things happening, but in my head, and now I think about it, and it's always in the back of my mind, about helping others and what I've been gifted, all these talents, education. I've been opportunities here growing up in Australia, sport and stuff. Like, how can I use these talents? And like, my purpose is to help other people or to do better in that space. So trying not to forget about that. So when times got tough and I'm like, I don't want to finish this essay, or oh my gosh, it's due in 2 hours. You had to just come back down, like, no, I got to finish it. Like, got to do myself proud. I'm almost there. Like, you just got to have that positive self-talk. And later on, like, started making vision boards. So I'd have a vision board at home, or have quotes around, little positive things to try and feed you, that little hit you need to be like, yep, no, I'm going to do it. I'm nearly there. Or maybe calling a loved one so you can get a little bit of a pick-me-up, but pictures and things. And yeah, in my head, I just wanted to go back to PNG. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to improve the livelihoods of others there. And that still is something that sits in my heart, whether it's with agriculture or sport or the leadership stuff that I'm rolling into. But just helping others and serving others and making things a better place. And I really thrive off that. So I think a lot of people that are doing degrees are doing it for a purpose too. Some people maybe want to make some money, get a nice house and a nice car, but, you know, you want to make your family proud. You want to maybe do something that's meaningful and purposeful, something you enjoy. Some people maybe in healthcare or education too, like those, they're pretty hard, they're pretty tough degrees to do, or like paramedicine, police, like all that stuff. You're serving the community, you're looking after people. Like, you obviously had something inside that called you to want to go and do that and give your services or help out the community or someone, like they've had past experiences to influence them to want to do that. So just trying to hold on to those things and push through. But there are so many distractions. Sport, I didn't want it to be a distraction, but it almost helped me, like healthy body, healthy mind, exercising, doing things, being social. Yep, that's my social hit, plus I'm exercising. Okay, now we're going to class. Yes, there are parties and things, but, you know, they talk about balance and you could tell the people that weren't balancing things or sleeping.
Yeah, that was me back in university. I was terrible. But no, I like what you said with the vision board, because I like to think that I'm a dreamer. So I dream a lot, and I dream about things. But one thing that with me, I used to dream a lot, and then I would have all these ideas, you know, what can I do to help our people? What can I do to make this happen? But I dreamt so big that I didn't know what the first step was to take. because I could see the end goal, but I didn't know how I could get there, basically. So then as soon as I started, putting them down, writing it down on paper and then visualizing and then peeling back, okay, like that's the goal there, but what do I have to do in the next 5 days to get there in, 3 years' time? Yeah. And that's how we started, this podcast. It was just a visualization, and then, the three of us came together and we were like, oh shit, like, are PNG people gonna hate us because we live in Australia and we're talking about PNG? And see, it's all these little things that you tell yourself, but no one else is telling you.
Yeah.
So then we kept putting it off, like, oh, let's not do it. And then one day we were just like, you know what? Let's just do it. Stuff it. Literally. Let's go. Let's just do it. So we did it, recorded the first episode, put it up, and then people started watching it, and we were like, oh wow, okay, this might be a real thing now. And then we're here now. But I think where I was getting to there was your vision board. I like that goal, especially for any university students who are out there studying, especially if you're from PNG and listening in, write it down. What's your end goal? And if you're like me and it's too hard to get to that goal, then think about the smaller things. What's your 4 units for the semester? Okay, my 4 units are this. How many assignments do I have? How many exams do I have? This one's coming up in 2 weeks. Maybe I need to study tomorrow. Maybe I should turn Netflix off.
Yeah, I think short-term and long-term goals.
Yeah.
And the short-term ones build you to the long ones. And people previously talk about healthy habits and things, but trying to not just quickly like have a night or a weekend where you just smash out study, because like they call it cramming or whatever they used to call it. But trying to be consistent and sustain that throughout, because then, I don't know, it'll stick with you or help you perform better. Same with training.
Yeah.
Same with like eating healthy or a diet. They're just trying to be consistent.
Yeah. And you said training there. And I think we met through the footy circles.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago now. But you touched a bit on netball there. But tell us about your journey going from netball to, was it union or league you played first? I don't even know.
Yeah, union. It would have been union.
Union.
Yeah, so.
And then a few opportunities have come from that as well. Yeah. Clare represented Papua New Guinea in rugby union. Yeah. Yeah. Also played for Queensland PNG Rugby League.
Yeah, Kokomos, yeah.
Kokomos as well.
Oh, I'm forgetting all these things. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, so regional town growing up, and obviously the growth of women's sport and footy, they didn't have those teams for tackle, and like it wasn't a sport for women. Not even that long ago. Like things have moved so fast. So I wish I was 10 years younger right now, but
yeah, it's amazing.
They'd have a league tag and not tackle first. So I played little league tag, and like obviously touch footy is a classic for people to play, regional, city, wherever. And then when I went to uni, because my parents always like, no, you can't play. If you broke your finger or your nose, like it's ruined forever. Look at your father, look at his hands, look at his face. But when I was at uni, I'm like, hey, they're not here. I can decide myself and I'm going to try it. And the PNG girls played and they're like, oh, sis, yeah, you'll be fine. And they introduced us with 7. So all the colleges, there was about 8 colleges, they would all make a team and play against each other.
That's so good.
So they introduced it with 7s, and then I think Australia won gold at the Olympics 2016 or something. And then from then on, they were just trying to pump money and time and energy into the university system and the sporting collegiate system to try and find their next raw talent, especially in the country. Right. So lucky for me, like I'm in regional New South Wales at a university there, and they had really good fields. So they're like, yep, you guys are in this comp. So we're versing all the big dogs like UQ and Sydney and Canberra and that. I was in that squad and I was studying full time, and I was doing netball too on the side. But
wow.
I never actually got to tour that side, but that was my exposure to being in that world and like a bit of a introduction to the professional rugby environment. From there I got like a year later after uni finished, I actually got invited from one of the assistant coaches to come and play in this amateur rugby side in America. So they took me we played in Alaska. It was called the Midnight Sun Sevens. And in Alaska, the sun does not go down till 4 a.m. So that's why it's called Midnight Sun.
Wow.
we ended up winning that comp. And then the coach that looked after us there, her name was Maddie Baker. She's doing wonders over in New Zealand and for women's sport. And she's coached many great teams. One of my favourite coaches, actually. She hit me up a few months later and she said, hey, I'm coaching in Boston. Do you want to come and play? And I'd finished uni then. I never had a gap year, hadn't really travelled. Honestly, didn't think I was going to leave Australia. Like, I'd just do PNG Australia, maybe New Zealand. But when she invited me, I'm like, oh my gosh, Boston, like, oh, America's so big. I'm only like a newbie in rugby. But she'd seen me out there and she thought like I had what it takes. And I was like, you know what? Let's go. So yeah, packed up after like I had a graduate job and went to Boston for the WPL, the Women's Premier League.
Wow.
That was in 2018. So now this year they're actually introducing it as the very first professional females league this year where they get contracted and paid.
Wow.
And I called them. I said, hey, I might have to come back. But that was me being introduced to that world in North America.
Yeah.
And from there, like I had some friends from Canada and they were Samoan Canadian. And on this trip, everyone thought me and this other lady, Nakisa, were twins. And I'm like, I just met her in the elevator. They're like, you guys look the same. And we got chatting and we were super similar in our cultural identity and sport and family. And then, so from America, I went and played in Canada. And then that led me to opportunity to play for PNG. Sorry, we just like went around everywhere then. But
yeah, you also went around Alaska. Like, that's a crazy place to go.
Have you seen snow? Oh, you have now.
Yeah, I wonder how many Papua New Guineans have been to Alaska. Probably not many.
And then I got to have my first cap in 2019. I'm pretty sure it was February, March. We had a repechage game for 15s, PNG Cassowaries against Tonga. So at that point, I hadn't been back in Australia for a couple of years, and I told my family, hey, I've got called into camp. I'm going to go. I'm not stopping in Australia, but hey, PNG is just nearby. Do you just want to come up? So unfortunately, Dad didn't have a passport yet, but my mum and my grandfather got to come up and experience and see PNG and go on that journey with me there.
Wow.
Jean, my sissy, was there to support all of our family friends. Family come down and I've got this photo on my phone of Mum and I, and I'm sort of a bit emotional after the game, cuddling her, and I just have that. I just look at that every day and I just think about that, and like I know my mum is Australian and like we grew up here, but she's been such a great support and always supporting me in that space, and my curiosity and like her coming to another country to watch me play and my number one supporter. When it's busy and when it's quiet, when I'm in the dark, she's a bomb. Shout out to all our mums out there.
Yeah, shout out all the mums.
PNG Cassowaries, Oceania's got tournaments happening now in Australia too, so I've done some duties for that. I had a little stint with the squad for the Palais, the Sevens. And then obviously after my time overseas, I moved back to Australia and come to Brizzy because that's where a few of my mates were playing and people were studying. And I got off the plane from Canada, 2 weeks mandatory hotel quarantine. That was the worst time of my life.
COVID.
I'm pretty sure I'm claustrophobic from that.
Oh.
No windows you can open.
Yeah.
You had to pay for it too because they come back later.
Oh my gosh. That was a bad time.
Went home for 2 weeks, saw the family, and guess what? Nothing had changed. It's fine, but it was good to see everyone. And then I was like, all right, a little bit down after coming back. I need to go by myself and do stuff that I enjoy. So I'm going to pack my car up and I'm going to go to Brizzy. So I actually come up here not knowing like anyone really.
Yeah. Why did you pick Brisbane?
So before I went to that tour in Alaska, I had a graduate job out past Toowoomba, past Oakey, Ackland.
Okay.
That's actually how I met your younger sister, Corey.
Yeah, Downlands.
They all played for USQ, the young girls, and I loved my time there, and there was a lot of islanders there. There was a few, like Kylie as well, like a few PNG girls.
So many here in Queensland.
In a few years after I come back, they were all old enough and they were studying and they're all in Brizzy. I'm like, hey, I miss that feeling. Like I miss playing in a team and I love playing sports. So let me go and do something I enjoy.
Yeah.
And things will just fall into place. So they were all playing at Brothers then, but moved up. I come up in my car, didn't have a job, didn't know where I was living, and didn't have a team to play for. So just networking, we're just with my network and messaging friends and old uni people. I'm pretty sure I couch surfed for a little while, went to a few training sessions. I went to East Tigers training session for one session. It was Thursday, and then the coach come up and he's like, hey, can you play for us on Saturday? Do you want to play? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. Awesome. And then we went on to win the premiership that year.
Wow.
And that would have been 2021, I think I come back. So then already grew my networks there. A lot of Islander, Pasifika women play 15s.
Yep.
Like your sister Corey and other people, I see there's like PNG student associations, QUT, Griffith.
Yeah.
And I just jumped at that because I'm like, oh, more PNG people, I want to meet them. So I'd go and play touch and meet more people and like, oh, she's good, come play. So meeting more people, going to their events and supporting. And people are like, what degree do you study? I'm like, oh, I don't study. I just come and support. I just want to be here, or be a bit of a mentor too, because some of them we're talking about how they might get distracted or be a bit lost in that space. Or so I like being there and be like, okay, so what are you studying? What's your goals? How are you going to get there? Just reach out if you need a chat and stuff. So just being present in that space, even though I'm like not actually doing a certain thing, but I'm being seen, being present and being around and supportive in that space. It's important for me, I guess, to be seen there and being approachable and a role model thing again. Oh, she's got a job, she's doing this, she's playing sport. Yeah.
Someone they can look up to basically. It's good. But I like what you said about, representing PNG. Not many people get the opportunity to represent PNG. You gave me flashbacks as to when I played for the men's team, the rugby union men's team, and we played. First cap was in Port Moresby, so kind of the same feeling. You family in the crowd. I had all my aunties, uncles, mum, dad. They were all in the crowd, and you sing the national anthem, and then that's when you really feel it, because then. When the anthem plays, your mind is thinking about all your family and your memories, and you crying and
overwhelming.
Yeah,
but it's happy. Like
it's so good, because then you're like, wow, I'm in this moment now, and then you run out on the field and you play. So I think that's a very special feeling. Not many people get, and it's something that's still probably one of my top 5 moments in my life, I'd say.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
And there's this picture they took of us and we're all lined up, linked arms, maybe one hand on our heart, where the anthem's going, and you can see this white Mary. They call me White Cassowary. I don't mind, that's okay. That's her there with the with the white headgear. But I'm like bawling, I'm crying, and we're all sitting there like in unity singing, and I'm just so emotional and so proud. But that picture keeps popping up. I'm like, oh no, but I'm like, no, that's me. Like I experienced that, and it was beautiful, and I'm proud to be up there. Sorry, I didn't mention, but I did end up in a rugby league space up here, because it's big here.
Yeah.
And they have the Queensland Rugby League Association, PNG Association.
Yes.
And they call it the Kokomos. And I know you've mentioned Kokomo Nines, and you've had a lot of the guys on that have played before and have gone on to do great things, or previous great players. So I guess I'm in the women's space there, and there's a lot of development and growth happening just in general in that space, not just in the PNG space, but in that space. So it's nice to be like a leader in that space and welcome new faces and try to be consistent. So I've been there for 3 years now. Co-captain the last couple of years, but I fractured my ankle last year. So on the sidelines volunteering, which I don't even mind. I just love being in that community, going to get water, just seeing the girls, helping them warm up, teaching me to strap something. Like just being around people just gives me energy and just makes me so happy to just be in that space.
What's it like with the Kokomos in the girls? Because like you said, we've had a few of the guys who were part of, or still are part of the Kokomos. Trevor Exton, Liam Horn, a few Kumul legends, and current Richard Pandya. So all of those boys as well. But it'd be good to hear, what your experience is like, for the girl side of things. There's probably some young girls out there listening that are in Brisbane and they're probably just too shy to rock up to Kokomo's training. So,
yeah, I feel like the PNG community here, there's a lot of us, but everyone sort of knows each other or someone knows someone. So go with your friend or get your brother to take you down. Like everyone knows each other, but it's super friendly. And for me, because I've been going for a few years now, seeing the younger girls who are now in the under 16s, under 18s, like young women, some of them, like one of them just signed with the NRL Broncos. She's a development player.
Wow.
There's a few down doing Titan stuff. There's some really promising young ladies that are going to be in the Orchids pathway. And they talk about this Kokomo's female team being part of the Orchids pathway the last few years, but we're trying to get it better and bigger and like obviously developing our management team and the coaching team, and each year trying to get it better. A lot of girls are playing in the BMD comp, so that's the competition just below NRLW.
Yep, so it's like the Q Cup for the women's
equivalent.
Yep.
So last year and the years before, they'd have them at different times, but this year they're actually having them at the same time, which is a great opportunity, especially if we have younger sisters around wanting to lead into that space to have a crack, because they'll get time on the field and they'll get more opportunity to be seen now, because all of those NRL talents are going to be playing their own comp.
Yeah.
So like last year, a lot of them, it was just almost like NRLW girls playing each other in the BMD comp.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, isn't this for like emerging talent? But it's good that they've separated it now. It's on the same time, because then the pathway's opened a little bit more. So we might see a few more young Orchids coming out, a bit more game time. And like there's teams up in the BMD, like I think the Mackay Cutters, and there's one at Rocky as well.
I think so, yeah.
So there's a few sisters up there too, and like I think it's cool how there's a few of the girls at Torres Strait Islander mix as well. I call them hybrids because they're tough, they're strong, they're fast. And for our girls, they are doing well, and I know they cop a lot of slack sometimes of the media and things, but you have to start somewhere. And same with like the coaching staff, same with management. It's so fresh and so new. We can't be expected to be like the NRL teams here that have been playing professionally for over 5 years. And they're getting paid for it too. So some of these ladies are mothers and have to provide for their family too. So there's a lot of factors and constraints going on, but you know what? They're so resilient and they're still doing their best. So if you're interested and you're out there listening, or you have a younger sister or a younger cousin, go and follow the Queensland PNG Rugby League Facebook page or Instagram page, and when they have trials and things come up, they have little competitions, and at the end of the year we have a big cube pick comp, so all the Pacific Islands versus each other, and it's pretty fun and a beautiful celebration of culture, multiculturalism in the Pacific region, just up here in Queensland. So
it's one of the great things we look forward to, because there's always the nines tournament, and then they pick, well, the whole reason why they set up the nines was so that they could pick the Queensland PNG side to go into Q-Pick, and we always love going to those days, because, you have your PNG Kaikai and PNG people, and music is blasting, and, Buai Spet is over there, and it's so good, but look, I think we're coming to the end here, but I just wanted to, leave the floor to you, let everyone know sort of what you're up to at the moment, and, what you're looking towards, I guess, in the future.
Thanks, Richie. And just a quick shout out before I speak, just to the uncles, like kudos to you guys going out, trying something, being curious of that space, and it's a super positive platform, and I love listening to your podcast and meeting guests and people that I haven't heard of or met before. So thank you so much. For myself, so I'm actually currently working as an assistant site manager at Graincorp, which is a big agricultural grain export facility out at the port. So wearing that one hat with being a manager, and then I was also thinking about trying to make further selection with rugby league. So I tried to leave union a bit, because there's a bit of stuff happening with PNG Rugby Union, who I go into today. But that's sort of sitting there. So I'm like, I would like to have a crack. Maybe it would be a dream to wear an Orchids jersey one day and just be nice before I retire and go into other things. But for me, I'm always going to have a footprint in the sport. I feel like I can do more off the field than on the field, just with my experience and education and understanding of things and seeing how the Australian structures run and the PNG structure, how it can be improved. So I'd love to help out in my own way to make it better, and especially in the women's space, because there's more people, hey, PNG NRL, the men's team, but I'm like, hey, there's a women's team coming too. Let's prepare for both. Yeah. Let's make that pathway strong, and let's have a uniform approach there too. I do love the ag, but and it can make a big difference, especially in PNG. And I think about working for NGOs or doing work over there in regional communities, workshops for empowering like women and teaching them other skills, trying to like improve their livelihood by making more income or trying to increase their produce, because everyone's farms at home, they sort of have their own garden. That's how they look after things. But for me, I think at the moment sport's really coming in strong and just leaning towards that space. But again, being curious, keeping open, networking hard. Been doing a few leadership things lately. Did the Future Pacific Ancestors, shout out to those guys, did that program the other week with Uncle Charles. Yes. And just trying to keep my networks open and keep connected with everyone. So if you see me around, please come and say g'day. I do know a fair few people around, but I just love meeting more PNG people, learning more about my culture and hearing other people's stories and experiences. So thanks so much for having me today.
Oh, wow. Everyone, Clare Akauma, thank you.